you're having a great Wednesday. I'm glad that you could join us for today's webinar, all about AI. But before we begin, a few housekeeping things. If you join one of our webinars, then you know the dealio. But we are recording today's webinar, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of this in an email once we have it all polished up for you in a couple of days. So hang tight for that recording. You also, if you're here to collect your CAE, CMP, or CAE, CMP, or CEM, there was three, then we will definitely contact you and let you know that we've either submitted your information to the certification bodies and also give you a certificate of attendance so that you have that for your records. But along the way today, so we've got a great guest, but if you have any questions, definitely feel free to put those in the chat at any time. You can also use the Q&A box, and we'll try to get to it as we go along. So I'm joined today by Mitch Eisen. Mitch, are you there with me? There you are, Mitch. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to have you.
Excited to be here.
So everyone, this is Mitch Eisen. He is the CTO with Contentware. Now, Mitch has been in the marketing world here in the DC area, serving people all over the world, but for quite some time. If you've heard of Real Magnet, he is one of the brain trusts behind that, and now has started Contentware. So Mitch, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about what you do over at Contentware.
Sure. Well, first of all, excited to be here, and thanks for everyone for joining. Appreciate you putting a trust in us for an hour, and hopefully you'll learn something practical to take away. So for me, as we mentioned, we had started Real Magnet, which way back, we're talking 2000, was the first an email marketing service that quickly morphed into a full marketing automation platform that served the association space. And today there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of those marketing automation platforms out there, and they all do things well, some better than others, but with a different thing. But essentially, they're all doing the same thing, right? They're creating rules that say, oh, well, if I send this email out and no one's opened it, send them this email, etc. But when we started back in 2000, and to this day, there's still a real problem for marketers. What goes into those emails? What goes into those social media posts? So people are focusing on the structure of those campaigns, which is good and important, but it doesn't really solve the problem of how do I develop the content to put into those critical communication pieces that are going to get my or prospects to register for an event, etc. And that is the whole purpose of Contentware. So with the advent of AI, it is now possible to do things it was literally impossible to do just a few years ago. And we're really at the dawn of this technology, but I believe it holds real promise for helping marketers scale their content and their marketing efforts. And that's the whole purpose behind Contentware, to help marketers really scale up their content marketing operations.
Yeah, there's so many tools out there, and I think you hit it right, Mitch. It is about the process. Even though you have a tool, I think we've all been there and have had leadership that says, "Oh, great, you got a tool. Now just send it out. Send out an email, and voila, magic will happen, and people will come, and revenue will be made, and all will be happy." But I think we all know there's a little bit more work. And we have some great participants today that are in those seats. We'd love to hear from you all and kind of get a sense of who's in our room today. We're going to throw up a poll. You guys know I like my poll, so we're going to just kind of ask you a couple of questions. And by the way, I forgot to introduce Alexis. If you have any technical trouble, there's Alexis. Hello, Alexis. She's our Zoom webinar tech today. She'll be handling all of our techie stuff behind the scenes. But if you can throw up that first poll, Alexis. There we go. Tell us how familiar you are with AI. Before we even begin, let's just get a sense of how familiar you are. Are you just now tipping your toes into the water and trying to figure out what is AI? Are you using it right now? Or are you, you know that it's important, you haven't really done anything, but you're here to learn more? And I think it's exciting that people are getting their feet wet here. And so, Alexis, I think you can go ahead and share those results. There we go. And I love doing this because I want to make sure you all also feel like you're not alone. There are other people out there in the same place as you are. So Mitch, So we've got a bit of a 50-50 here, but at least it's great. I'm glad you're here if you're interested in AI. Otherwise, you'd be in the wrong webinar. We
Right.
got one more poll for you.
Well,
And
actually, if I could just make a comment here, actually, the truth of the matter is 100% of the people are using AI and just don't know it. So that's just something else that we'll talk about. You are not, in answer to the poll, you're not actively using AI, but probably unbeknownst to you, many of the tools that you're actually using now contain elements of AI. And so that's already, you're already further ahead of the game than you actually know of.
wow, that's awesome. Anything to make our life easier, even if we don't know it. All right, Alexis, let's do the next poll. This one's going to be talking a little bit about the tools that you're using now in different categories. And what we've listed here as examples or just examples is not meant to be an exhaustive list. But if you're, pick the one that you're using the most. I know it's only a single choice and it's not the greatest of polls, but at least we can see how you're using AI right now. You've got everything from social media to content writing, CRMs, chatbots, and there are all sorts of other things in there. I think AI is, Mitch, right? AI is really touching every different part of marketing we can think of.
Totally. I mean, it's pervasive throughout the marketing stack, and in the coming years, it'll become more pervasive and more visible.
Great. Okay. Well, we're going to keep that up for a little bit, give you guys some time to answer that poll, and we'll come back to it and kind of look at what you're using. But let's start at the very basic, Mitch. What is AI?
Right. So there's all sorts of definitions out there, and I don't want to get technical, but even before we actually come up with a definition, I think it's more important to think about not defining it, but what it is and how it fits into the things you're currently used to using. There's all of this, shiny object about AI, and there's a lot to it. But at the end of the day, it is a tool. It is a tool like any other tool that you're using to do your job, right? Word processing is a tool. Google Docs are a tool. Google Sheets or Excel is a tool. Your CRM is a tool. A database is a tool. There's value in it of themselves, but not for you. You don't care. You're not like, I don't need a database because I need a database. I don't need marketing automation to check a box that says I have marketing automation. It is a tool to help you get and pursue a goal and hopefully get to that goal quicker and better and faster and cheaper with better results. Otherwise, it's not a useful tool, right? And so AI is just one of those tools in a long string of tools that we've been using for the last 30 years in the digital marketing space. Now, having said that, in my view, AI is actually a radically new tool that actually has the potential to really revolutionize kind of the digital marketing space. Now, people say that and have said that all along the way in those 30 years. People have said it about marketing automation. I was one of those guys. I was the one standing up there that said it's going to revolutionize. But there does seem that this is a little bit different, and in both good ways and bad ways. So at its core, artificial intelligence is basically a computer program that allows a couple of things, and sort of define it in two areas that I think are practical for people listening in today. The first one is to do data analysis, right? Is to basically take all of your data that you have and to analyze it using AI. And what does that mean? It's a very sophisticated way of doing kind of what you're already doing. Most people, if you think about it, if you're in the event marketing space, think about it right now. Everyone just take a second and say, what's my next upcoming event? Is it a webinar? Is it a physical event? The first thing you're doing is, how am I going to get people to that event, right? And who am I going to invite to that event? Easiest way to do it is to say, I'm going to invite everyone on my database. Not very practical in today's world. So in order to segment, or in order to find a subset of people in your database, or ads for people that might not be in your database, you have to make some decisions. You have to think about who is most likely going to want to attend this event. How do I define them? And you may already have certain lead scoring methodology that you use, segmentation that you use, personas that you built to help you cluster or find that subset of people that you think would be really good targets for that event. AI can help in that vein. So AI can look at that data, just like you look at that data, but because of the sophistication, it can do things that we as humans cannot do. So I can look at a spreadsheet and I can look at all those columns, and I myself can maybe make inferences. Oh, this is a webinar on whatever that may be. There may be a gender that I may say, this may be more for women versus men. It may be an age thing. It may be other demographics. It may be behavioral in nature. Oh, Mitch attended these webinars on this topic. Mitch opened these emails on this topic. Therefore, he's going to be interested in this. And we make inferences. We look at signals. We try and interpret and understand those signals. The very thing that everyone does on Netflix. You watch this, therefore you're going to be interested in that. Amazon, the same thing. But that's what AI can do for us on the marketing side. It can help us look at that data, and it can find correlations. It can find clusters. It can find relationships between people and behaviors and signals that will give us a probability that someone might be interested in this event. So that's the first area where AI can be, I think, very useful, which is like AI-powered insights into your current data. But again, it's very powerful, but it's evolutionary in nature. It's the evolution of what you've been doing up until now. On the other side, we have a very exciting field on the AI side, which is generative AI. And that is the ability for artificial intelligence to generate, meaning to create original digital assets. And what I'm talking about is AI being able to write emails, to write subject lines, to write social media posts, to write landing page content for your registration page, to even generate individual and unique images that can be used in some of those digital media promotions. This is a very new and exciting, and is not evolutionary in nature, but is revolutionary in nature. So when I think of AI, I think for the purposes of what we're talking about here, put it into two buckets. AI-powered insights using artificial intelligence to look at our data and surface opportunities for us and give us suggestions of how to segment that data. And then generative AI, which is using artificial intelligence to create actual content.
You know, Mitch, I often think I've been in that marketing seat of trying to figure out, pulling all the spreadsheets, doing the pivot tables, doing the lookups, and trying to figure out what it is. So it sounds like AI is going to help me eliminate some of that work. Maybe not all of it, but it's going to help me eliminate some of that. And then in terms of the marketing end, just kind of help me figure out, move a little faster in terms of what that content is. And yeah.
I think in two things. So first of all, on the data assisted side, I talk about this all the time, and I get two reactions on there, right? So they're like, it's polarizing, right? So some people say, oh, AI looking at my data, I don't understand what it's doing. There's no way I'm going to trust that. Zero chance. And then there's other people that look at on the other end of the spectrum and say, artificial intelligence, that's way smarter than me. I'm going to blindly follow whatever suggestions given. I think both of those are very misguided, okay? Because on the data side, it's doing the same thing you're doing, right? By creating that lead scoring and the personas. And it's doing it in different ways, different mathematical ways, etc. But it's sort of the same result, right? Even if you have a lead scoring, pretty sophisticated, it says, hey, who am I gonna prospect to for this event? You don't know for sure that you were right. There's a probability that you were right. Is the statistical relevance, and that's what AI does also. So AI will give you a probability that this is a good group to target to, but it's not guaranteed. So if you think about it, if I told you there's a 90% chance of rain, you're probably going to take an umbrella outside, right? But if I tell you that every day, and only 1 out of the 7 days, you're going to start losing trust in that prediction. And
Right.
it's the same thing here.
Right.
So on the AI side, that way, it gives you a probability, a better likelihood of something happening, but it's not guaranteed. And that's so important when we talk about AI. that it becomes even more important to evaluate your programs. AI says, oh, market this webinar to this group of people and this webinar to that group of people. Okay, fine. You may try that. It may work and it may not work. And you really need to evaluate the outcomes to know if those suggestions are actually working for you.
Let's actually throw up the responses to this poll about how people are using AI, because it will kind of lead into the question I have for you next.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alexis. So we see a lot of people are using it for social media, for email marketing. That's great content. Mitch, are there some other ways people are using AI now outside of this list that we have here? Or what are you seeing? This is kind of our poll for people attending here, but what are you seeing are the most common uses of AI right now in
So,
marketing?
yeah, so I think that there are two trends that are happening, right? One is chasing that next shiny object, okay? And it's very interesting. If you add and you look at some of the polling data or sort of the survey data, most big companies say that they need AI. But when you ask them, what are you actually doing? It's a lot different, right? So all of a sudden there's this buzz about AI. I need AI. I need to do this. I need to do this. And again, it should only be used as a practical tool. So those that first of all are successful with it, my recommendation is always start with people who have done the work for you. People say, oh, should I start writing my own algorithm? Should I hire a data scientist? Maybe, but only for the very small of the edges, right? As I mentioned before, AI is starting to permeate through all of the applications that are currently in the tech stack. So for example, in your CRM, we'll go back to that example of who am I gonna try and market to for this event. AI is built into some of those CRM tools already to help you get some insight into that data. So again, I do think, like, for the purposes of marketing, there are really a couple things you see. Again, data insights is a huge thing. Really, the goal is kind of that hyper personalization. And that's where we're seeing sort of some real traction, right? First of all, let's look at website or landing page. In the old world, you would create a landing page or a website, maybe you're marketing your event or maybe it's your website. And basically you'd have everything, static content on your homepage or on that landing page, right? And you might change it every once in a while, but if Mitch got to that page and Binu got to that page, they would see the exact same thing at the exact same time. We're now, and by the way, then there has been some dynamic content available for like dynamic landing pages where you've got different content. We're now approaching where you could have truly hyper personalized dynamic content on those landing pages that in real time, number one, serves up different content for different people, supposedly matching what their interest is in that time. And by the way, what's even a little bit more interesting / scarier is that content that you're seeing on the page might have been written in response to what you're looking at right now. So before, if you think about it, on sort of that personalized website experience, you created a bank of content, right? You have whatever, call it 10 different versions of that landing page. And based on the rules that you created, if I'm persona number one, show them persona, content number one, number two. You created the clusters and you created the content. Now, you're probably not going to be creating the clusters and you might not even be creating the content. So that's where I see one on the hyper personalization on the website side. The other couple that we see are more outbound on ads, right? If you're interested in marketing event, not necessarily just to your database, but you want to extend that reach to perhaps other people on LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, whatever, sort of using AI to help segment that audience, and then also using AI to craft those messages for those audiences using AI. And then also on the email marketing side, it is huge, right? On the email marketing side, being able to really personalize those messages. And when I mean personalize those messages, I do not mean hello, Mitch, right? I know my name, you know my name, I know that you know my name. It makes no sense whatsoever to tell me my name. What is relevant to me is I get something that is timely, right? And so for me, I've been in the email space for a long time, and I argue, people say I get too much email. I don't agree with that. I think they get too much of the wrong email. And so if you're interested in something and the timing is right, you're going to respond to it. The problem is, and it's a very hard thing to do, don't get me wrong, this is very, very difficult, because the problem is what we're trying to do is predict human intent. Okay. Now, it's much easier for AI or anyone else to predict what the water consumption will be at halftime in the Super Bowl. You can predict with a lot of degree of accuracy that that water consumption is going to spike during halftime during the Super Bowl. But the problem that all of us have, Amazon, Netflix, when you're trying to market these events, is you're trying to figure out what someone's intent is. And here's the fundamental problem. The person you're trying to figure out, they don't know what their intent is, because we're complex humans and we change our minds all the time, and we don't know exactly what we're interested in at what time. So it's a constant game to try and figure that out. But what AI allows you to do is scale up those individual trials or those individual tests to see what sticks and what doesn't stick and how it works. And that's where I think there's real breakthrough.
Now, Mitch, and you've said this in different ways at different times when you're talking about, about the work that needs to go into AI. I think there is a myth that, I can just turn on AI and it'll just magically make everything happen, but that's not the case. Can you walk us through, maybe an example of what are some of the things that we need to think about before we
Yeah.
even jump in to say, I'm going to use AI?
Yeah. So I think there are a couple things to think about. First is kind of the promise of AI, what it will do. And again, if you sort of correlate that with a lot of the hype that went around marketing automation. And by the way, I was one of those carnival barkers for marketing automation. We built a tool and we're out there touting the efficiencies and the time savings. And I've come to realize that in the smallest of definitions, they do save time, but they don't save an overall amount of time, right? Think about it, right? We've been promised efficiencies forever, right? The microwave was going to make our lives more efficient. Email marketing was going to make our lives more efficient. Marketing automation was going to revolutionize marketing and make our lives more efficient, have time. I don't know anyone who has more time. I think everyone has less time. So first of all, I think we have to recognize that AI is still part of that, to a certain extent, a little bit of false advertising that way, okay? What it's very good at is doing some of the lower level mundane things that are not useful for a human to do. And so I like to use a couple of analogies, right? So, and we'll get back to your original question, but just thinking about it this way, in terms of writing content, right? If you have to promote a webinar, right? You're 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out from the webinar, you have to write 10 emails, 20 Facebook posts, 20 tweets, etc. If you think about that like a marathon, okay, it's a marathon, it's 26 miles. Now, if you start, you might get to mile 26 and complete it all. You might not, okay? And even if you get there, you might be exhausted at the end. So as opposed to doing that, maybe think about if someone helicoptered you in at mile 23. And what I mean by that is the first draft of all of those emails, all of those social media posts were already written and allocated in a calendar. And now you have to go from mile 24 to mile 26, but you're creatively sharp. You're ready to put in what is of tremendous value that humans can do that AI cannot, right? AI can get you up to a point, but then you need to finish that race. And here's the thing. If you do it that way, once you're at mile 26, you're ready to go for that next marathon, because your boss is saying, oh, this was great. Now here's the next one you have to do. So you don't want to be creatively exhausted at the end of that process. And that's where AI can help you, kind of doing the more mundane things along the way. Now, back to your original question about like some specific examples of how people use it and some of the other things. One of the, it's exciting, AI, but think about it like a car, okay? You could have the best car, fastest car, coolest car. But if there's no gas in that car, you're not going anywhere and no one's ever going to see how cool that car is. The gas for AI is data. And so this is both the good news and the bad news. The good news is that organizations have a lot of data. The bad news is it's kind of bad data and dirty data. And it's been like that for a long time. So on the one hand, you have this promise of AI to be able to gain all of these insights through that data. But really, it only exacerbates a problem that we've been having forever on the siloing of data and the problem of not having kind of data that can be used for that outcome. And that's a big challenge that people really need to think of, because it's more dangerous now because you can't actually see what AI is doing, right? So with, let's say, lead scoring or personas or segmentation, you know what the rules are. You know, if Mitch opened this email and clicked on this link and watched this video, he's interested perhaps in this. So you understand where Mitch is in this bucket, and you understand why, what got him to that bucket. But with AI, you don't know. Mitch is in that bucket. You have no idea algorithmically what determined to get him there. And so the data is just so important, because if you have bad data, you're going to get potentially bad results. And even more so, you're not going to know what the source of those bad results are. And that's one of the real dichotomies and the paradoxes of AI right now, is that it requires all of this data to do it. And if you don't have good data, you're not going to necessarily get good results. So practically speaking, that's one of the main focuses that I think is, it's a problem. We've been having this problem, but it becomes even more so. You have to get the data right if you want to expect AI to yield the results that you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we all been on the end of pulling a report in our CRM or AMS, and we're looking at it going, oh, that doesn't sound right. And it's because the data, it's either dirty data or there's something we're not defining for what we're looking for, right?
Right.
Now, Mitch, one of the things that you were going to talk to us is about what's going to be happening with AI in this next year. You know, it's rolling out. We're all using it in some way. What are some exciting things that are going to happen next year?
So first of all, let's think back to that first poll that we did, okay, where no one said I'm currently using AI. And I sort of made that comment that everyone is true, right? If you think about it, AI right now, unbeknownst to all of us, is permeating all of our personal and our professional interactions. When you do that autocorrect in Google Docs, that's AI. If you've noticed in Gmail recently, or I've noticed recently, when I respond to something in email, there's a suggestion on the bottom, like some text of how to respond to that email. I used to ignore that all the time. And then I found myself recently looking at that and saying, you know what? That stuff is pretty good, right? And I think that this is actually one of the best analogies to use when we think about that, right? What does Gmail and Google do? They don't automatically reply with that. It's a suggestion. So there's three outcomes of that suggestion. One, I love it, either because I love it or I'm lazy, right? And lazy is a huge part of it, so I use it. Two, I hate it and I don't use it. Three, I look at it and it's almost there and I edit it, and I'm going to add a fourth. And this is one of the biggest things that I think in the coming years that we're going to see with AI. I look at it, I don't like it, I don't correct it, I don't use it, but it makes me think of something that I could write, that I will use, that I believe I would not have thought of had I not seen that particular piece of text. So, and that's a really good way to look at these things, right? It's not that it's automatic, it's there as a suggestion. Again, you apply for a mortgage, home mortgage. AI is evaluating your credit worthiness. You're applying to a new job. You submit your resume to a company, you think you're the perfect fit. There's a huge chance your resume is not even going to be read by anybody. It's got to pass through that AI gateway first. All of the things that we do are being touched by AI. And again, I think in the marketing stack in the coming years, what you're going to see is the following. One, I think all of the tools that you're currently using, whether it's email marketing, social media marketing management, CRM, increasingly you're going to see more of that kind of like auto suggestion things that you see in Google in different ways. They're built into the CRM, right? So you'll see things like when you're running reports in a CRM, something like explore with AI to gain insights, things like that. You'll see assistive writing in some of the email marketing tools. When you're going to write something, you write some copy, you'll have an option to say, hey, run it through AI to paraphrase it or give me some other thing. So first of all, I see within the current tools of the marketing stack that you're using, you're going to see AI be more pervasive and prevalent within those tools. Two, I see content. Okay, and it's a really important thing here that there's going to be a massive explosion of content in the coming years because a significant percentage of it is going to be written by AI. Now, we all have to feed that content machine, right? Like you see me, but I don't see all of you, but I can't see, but I can sense shoulder slumps. And what I mean by shoulder slumps is I can see the weight of the demands on you. Your bosses, or you're the boss yourself, whatever that may be, you're like, we need more content. Wait, we need more content. We need more blogs. We need more social media posts. We need more content, right? And that's never going to stop, okay? So there will be more content written and needed for two reasons. One is you feel you need it, but two, it's because your competitors and everyone else in the space is doing it. So it's kind of like this arms race that's going on, that everyone needs more content. So I predict that there's going to be a massive explosion of content, a lot of it being AI generated. Now, that's both good and bad. It's good because now all of a sudden you have more content, but it's bad because now you're competing with an ever larger ocean of content to break through, okay? And there's something else that's really important here, right? It's not as if these search engines like Google and these social media companies are just sitting idly by while we churn out AI generated content. Their job, well, it's kind of hard to say, but one of the things that they do is they try and surface the best content when you search for things. And so how are they handling this? So right now, maybe we have this slide. It's a good intro here to put up about some AI versus human content. Let's throw that one up if we can for a second, because that's a good segue into this little piece here. So here, there are two pieces of content. One was written by a human, one was written by an AI. First one, so number one and number two. Maybe we can just do a poll of who thinks the human, number one or number two. So we'll do a poll of that. Who thinks number one is written by a human? Who thinks number two is written by a human? And we'll show those results. And here's what I think, okay? One or two, okay? Who wrote it? Human. One or two. And again, these pieces can be put into, you can see these as maybe some email, like a lead into an email, or a piece of a social media promotion, etc. So let's see how people answered. I'm going to predict it's close to 50-50.
Pretty close, pretty close.
Okay. And so I'm going to tell you soon what it is. But what I say, I don't think that's the right question to even ask, even though I asked. It's not the right question, right? It's kind of like asking, who wrote this marketing copy? Was it Bill in marketing or Sally in marketing? That's not the right question. A better question might be, is which one do I like better? And even that's not a great question. A better question yet is, which one do I think will elicit the reaction or the response that I'm looking for? And the point is here, by the way, it's number one. Number one, okay? But the thing is, you can't tell. And this is going to be the trend in the coming years, especially with short form content. You will not be able to tell if a human wrote that or an AI wrote that. And to a certain degree, I don't think it makes a difference. Having said that, getting back to the point that I was trying to make before about how search engines are looking at this, and this is critically important for people as they're thinking of bringing AI on for content generation. Just like you and I can't really tell for sure this was written by a human or AI, neither can Google, okay? So when you write this blog, Google does not know whether you wrote it or an AI wrote it, or in most cases, a combination. They cannot tell, cannot. But they're not sitting idly by. And that's another really important part of this generative AI content. What this content is really good content based on existing information out there, okay? So right now, an AI can write a blog. Like literally I can show you on here, takes 3 seconds. You can give me any topic you want with a few keywords. In 3 seconds, I can give you a blog. I can show you if you want. Now, is it good? I think it is good. Is it original? No. Okay, and that's what's really important. So think about it this way. Some of this content that's out there that you may be considering using, if you're a good writer and someone tasks you with writing a blog or an event promotion for a subject that's not your domain expertise, what do? You go out to the internet and you research. You find ranked and highly ranked articles or blog posts or other information, and you synthesize that information and you apply it to your writing style that's going to be good for the audience. By the way, that's what AI does, but it does it at a scale that you cannot achieve on your own. It has the entire internet / Wikipedia available to it at its fingertips, and it can synthesize and write that in 3 seconds. Okay, so but again, another way to look at it is this content is good, but it's as if it was written by a very talented university senior who's a great researcher and a great writer. Here's what it is not. It is not an original idea by a PhD candidate writing a dissertation. And this is what I think is really, really important. So getting back to how do we use this content and how the search engines look at it and what's coming in the next year, well, Google can't tell who wrote this. What they can detect is if it's original or not. So if we are all just using AI tools to write all of our content, we're all going to kind of be a race to the middle, and there's going to be nothing original being written. So when I think about this, what you really have to do is 2 things. One, use these AI tools to help write this content, but use that last little bit of time, mile 24 to mile 26, to make it more unique, make it more personal. Put something in it individually that only you know about because you're an expert on it. And then also, you know, I think there's going to be a shift in our content writing structures within our organizations. You're going to have more of these editors and generators looking at some of this content, but you still need to have people who are your experts doing thought leadership on things that only you can do. That's going to become increasingly more important. So the mix, you can kind of think about this type of content as being the base content, which you need, but you also need to have that original content of your individual thought leadership. What makes you unique? Why is your opinion better? Because AI can't write that. So a combination of that content is, I think, what's number one, I believe, is the most important mix. And I think ultimately that's how you're going to rank better with Google and some of these other search engines to continue breaking through.
Again, and you have those AI tools to help you measure how you will rank in those search tools, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all this big circle of AI, evaluating AI. But you know what I really like is, I think as event marketers, if we're putting on conferences, we all have our standard language that, you know, come to our event because you'll get your CEs and you get to network, and it's your standard language. But what really makes it different is the content that's at the conference. Right. And so being able to use AI to support that traditional marketing message with the specific interest points at the conference, AI can help us with that, right?
Yeah, I think in terms of, especially for the big conferences, right? If you're putting on a webinar, it's one topic, right? But for big conferences, we're seeing now that AI is being used to help set the agenda, right? So a successful conference is one in which people come away excited about what they learned in that conference. And that's based on the content of that conference, right? And so, and then again, looking structurally is like, what type of sessions do I have? So people are using AI right now to help them craft those sessions, right? Again, it's a tool. We know by surveying people past conferences, what they like, what they don't like. But now people are using AI to help them define and maybe even refine what those sessions are, number one. Number two, okay, so now you've defined with the help of AI what is hopefully a really good conference. Now you want to get people to those conferences, right? Through those marketing messages. Now, it's very interesting. When we started Contentware, for example, like ours is a combination of AI plus human curated content. So we put together a list of very seasoned event marketers and went through an exercise to create a content bank of call to actions, okay? And so we had those marketers write those. And then we also had AI write those. And then we had the humans kind of curate the AI one. Now, at the end of the day, in theory, it's an endless, infinite ways of call to actions to register for this conference. But the truth is it's not, right? And that's something that's also really important here. You know, especially with event marketing, people say like, well, how many different ways are there to say register, you know, register today, register now? There's actually not that many, okay? You can do it, but no one is going to use in their conference. If you don't register now, you're stupid, right? That was one of the AI suggestions. If you don't register now, you're a fool, your life is over. Literally, these were some of the suggestions that AI. So in theory, it's infinite, but it's really not, okay? So people, again, it's the person, it's who, it's the what. So who am I? What am I interested in? And when do you hit me with that message to get maximum registration? And there's also a fourth component, which is the where. Where am I? Am I in email? Am I in social media? Am I in video? Am I on your website, etc.? And so those are complex decisions to make. And AI can help us with all those. But again, I do want to stress that it's a probability, right? It's the same thing. Like you don't do a show of hands, but I'm sure all of us get Netflix recommendations, right? You don't watch 100% of those Netflix recommended shows or movies. And even if you did, you don't like them all the same way. Amazon sends me lists of products that I think they would buy. I don't buy 100% of them, okay? And here's another thing. For those people who have been to Las Vegas and play blackjack, okay? You go to the casino, you're sitting in that casino, things are going pretty well. You might have a drink in your hand, you're pumping oxygen in the room, you're looking at your stack of chips, you're up a bit, you're playing blackjack. You got a 12 sitting there, and the dealer has a 6 showing. What do you do? What do you do? Do you hit or do you stand? What do you do? All the books will tell you, every single person will tell you, you stand, you do not hit. Why? Because statistically, the dealer is going to probably statistically pull a higher card, bust, and you'll win. And by the way, all of the table will win. But that's if you play a million hands over. You're playing that one hand now. And this is something else that I want to stress about this AI. AI gives you that statistic, but AI has no intuition. And by the way, if all of this stuff was so good, everyone would be doing it, and we wouldn't even having this conversation, right? The point is, it's a mixture. Don't outsource yourself to the algorithm, but don't reject it, right? It tells you something, okay? Yes, statistically, I should probably stand. The dealer's showing a 16, but I might have intuition. I may have seen a lot of high cards coming through, and I'm like, you know what? I feel I might be right and I might be wrong, but that's so important on there to rely on your instincts, to rely on your creativity, okay? Computers are smart, but they're not creative, okay? And now they're getting to be creative. We're getting to that point where we're starting to augment creativity, but we're not there yet. People are creative, okay? And the implementations that I see that are the most successful are those that mix those two together. There's not an outright rejection of it. There's not a blind following of AI. There is, okay, this is a suggestion, this sounds good. I'm feeling this, let's test this, let's try that, and move forward that way.
Now, AI, you said this about, we're measuring things. AI can help us measure the marketing activities we're doing or even the behavior of our attendees. But what about actually measuring AI? How do I go about knowing if it's working for me? What should I be looking at?
So that's another good thing. So first of all, we've all heard of the kind of blind test taste, Pepsi, Coke, right? Things like that. So one of the ways to look at it is to kind of equalize AI as kind of a blind A/B test. Okay, so think about it this way. AI might suggest this marketing message is good to these people. You might think otherwise. Do an A/B test. And so this is another really, really important part of all of the AI, that outcome analysis, the data analysis, which AI can help you with, but I would argue the opposite. What you're evaluating is the AI. You don't want AI to evaluate the AI. AI says this marketing message is good for this cluster of people, right? Mitch says, no. Mitch says, you know what? You should try that marketing message, that call to action that says, if you don't register, you're a fool. I think you should try that. So again, you can try that. You can try those two marketing messages and see which ones actually resonate. So if we think about AI, AI is just another suggestion of a marketing message, the actual marketing copy, or a segment or group of people to market to. But just like you would do an A/B test on a marketing message or a segment, you need to do even more so. You need to do that even more so to find out if that AI suggestion, whether it's content or whether it's data segmentation, actually work. And you need to evaluate that. So where we are right now, the evaluation tools are becoming even more important because AI is somewhat of this black box. We don't know why Mitch got into that cluster. We don't necessarily know why AI wrote that marketing message to this group of people. We used to know why because we did it. We ourselves created it. Now we don't know why. And so it becomes even more important to evaluate the outcome. And so now really what's happening is people are saying, this works and I'm going to continue, but I don't know why.
So let's talk about, in terms of promoting an event and we're using AI. And we've got the data, we've got generation tools. Does that now change how far in advance I am going to start marketing my event?
So that's a good question too. I would say, like typically me, I'm going to answer not your question exactly, but I'll get around to it. So the first thing that I think that it will help you with is doing more of those events. So I hear this kind of all the time. The pandemic was brutal in a lot of ways, but it also opened up opportunities. There were so many webinars and so many educational opportunities that people have to meet and convey information differently. Now, what I hear a lot is, I'd love to do more webinars, but I can't. Okay, I can't. And when I probe and say, why can't you? Because it's overwhelming. Well, what is overwhelming? Two things. The topics, how do I get the topics? And then I can't even market the current number of webinars I have now. And this is where I think there's a real opportunity for AI to help scale up those operations, okay? So first, AI can help you come up with topics. The AI is unbelievable right now. Whatever your field is, if it's healthcare or if it's whatever that is, you can put into AI and it'll give you suggestions, great suggestions of webinar topics. It's the exact same thing as I talked about in Gmail. You might accept them, you might reject them. It might be a creative boost to give you something else. So one, it can help us scale the types of ideas that we have for webinars. And then also, more importantly, it can help us get to mile 24 in our marathon for each of them so we can generate all of that content to promote them. So number one, AI has really the power to unleash the ability for us to do more of what is successful, more of these webinars. Two, it allows us to experiment with things that we've wanted to do but haven't had the infrastructure or the ability to do. That's another really important one. Now, in terms of specifically your question, does it change the nature of how far in advance I promote these? I don't think so per se, okay? Now, it may change for certain segments of the population. AI, can be very useful tools to say, well, this type of person, however it defines it, they really only respond when I start sending it out 3 months in advance or things like that. So it's not a yes or a no, it's a maybe, right? It depends. AI, I think, can provide insights into that. I think also, there's a big debate, right? There's like, what is the best practice for sending out promotions for events, how far in advance and things of that nature. And I'm both a huge proponent of best practices, and I also hate that term. Because here's the thing, if it is the best, that implies there's one thing. And if it's the best, that means everyone should be doing it because it's the best, it works. It's clearly not the case, right? So you really just, again, not need to blindly follow those things. But again, AI can give us the ability to experiment with those things. So if, for example, on a webinar, because we're able to do more webinars, we can experiment with promoting different webinars at different phases, prior to that webinar. So number one, we can say webinar A, we're going to start promoting 3 weeks in advance. Webinar B, maybe 2 weeks in advance, or even to certain segments, we're going to promote differently. And when it means differently, it means different content at different periods within that promotional period. So I think there's real opportunities, but there's no, in my mind, there's no definitive, yes, AI now tells you, it is exactly, 15 days before the event that's optimal, because I just think that's silly. Optimal for who? Your situation is different. It's like people send like the best time of day to send an email is 8:30 a.m., right? Or whatever. Not if you're sending to bartenders, right? There's no bartender that's up at 8:30 a.m. So you have to look at these best practices with a serious grain of salt. And again, I think it's a double-edged sword, but the power of AI gives us the ability to test out these things and to find out really what is working and what is not working. And that's where I think the true value is. So in a way, it gives us opportunity to do more work. Okay, that's another way to look at it. Like if people are looking for an easy way out, this is not going to get you there. Maybe short term, there's a little bit of a sugar rush. Oh, I didn't write this blog myself. I wrote, I can put it out there. But in the long term, it's not going to help you. In the long term, it's not going to help you. Blindly following it, you're just going to like race to the middle. So it gives you new insights, but only if you take advantage of those. But again, there's work involved with that.
Right. Now, for all of you that are still with us, if you have any questions, feel free. We have a few more minutes. Put those in the chat or in the QA. We're happy to ask Mitch those questions. And while you're thinking of those questions, Mitch, I do have a question. Now, in the association world specifically, capacity is usually an issue. Having enough time, enough people, enough brain power, even budget, all of that comes into play. If I'm a small association and I want to do generative AI, where do I start? Like what's an easy way to get started or where to start?
Yeah. So it's kind of like the gold rush days now in the early internet. So first of all of these, not all, but the vast majority of these things out there, you see all sorts of these tools out there, Jasper, Copy AI, you can just Google generative AI, free trials. There's scores and scores, and they're popping up just like flowers in the rain, and there's going to be so many of them. So that's a good place to start. Number one, I believe that the ones who are going to be more successful are the ones that are going to build applications on top of that, because basically, in my view, AI is going to become kind of like plumbing to the internet, right? So right now you've got a database, right? Like no one is like, you might have to buy a database, but everything we do, right? From our CRM to our event marketing, to our event promotion, to, billing, all of it is powered by the powerful databases we have. But no one really thinks about those anymore. You think about the applications that are on top of them and how useful are those applications to you. You don't say, oh, what is the underlying database technology of my CRM? No one cares, right? You want to know if it works, if it's easy to use, if it's answering my questions, if it's helping. And I think we're going to get to the same thing on the AI side. So yes, let's look at generative AI. You can go to any of these sites right now, let's say Copy AI or any of these other ones, and put in a few paragraphs or a few sentences, and it'll give you a blog post. But I think ultimately it's where it's going to be seamlessly integrated, right? How can I use, let's say, whatever, WordPress, whatever I'm using to create my blog, I need a button right there that says generate this. So right now, it's for those who are old enough to remember the sound. In my view, where we are is AOL dial-up right now. That's where we are, okay? So the stuff is amazing right now, like AOL dial-up, you know, like the AI right now is amazing, but we're at AOL dial-up. And the thing is, you know, we're now 25 years after that AOL dial-up, and think of how far we've come. We're going to get much further from where we are now on the AI side in a much shorter period of time. So right now, it's a good place to, number one, explore the AI tools that are built into the current applications that you're currently using. Go out and search for some of these generative AI tools that can help you potentially help on that generative, writing assistance. And I think those are really good places to start. But the other thing is it's just like everything in life. Like if you're searching for the thing, but you don't know why you're searching for it, even if you find it, it's not going to be that useful, right? It's much better to be on the quest with a specific objective in mind. I want to use AI too. And if you're just saying, I want to use AI, to find out if AI is good, I mean, that's somewhat interesting also. But a better question is, I want to use AI to help me target my event invitees better. I want to use AI to sharpen my marketing messages to increase it. I want to use AI to help me refine the subject matter of my events. I want to use AI to help with feedback or whatever that is. And I think those are the most instructive things that we can do.
And, in my experience with technology too, is that it's easy to be like, I want to do it all, right? I want to look at all my data. I want to write all this content, but sometimes in this simplest form, and I'm so glad that you said that, is to really hone in on what do you want it to solve? And it doesn't have to solve everything. It can just
Totally,
be
totally.
something very simple. Mitch, we're about to close out here. Is there anything that you want to wrap up with? Any final words of wisdom?
Well, I don't know if it's words of wisdom. It's both words of excitement and caution. So we're at a point right now where, as I mentioned before, AI is sort of permeating every aspect of our interactions. And I predict in the coming years, it's going to be even more. And here's the thing, no one is talking or has the ability to stop it. And I don't want to leave on a kind of like a cautionary note, but a lot of times we focus, let's say, in the software development of like, oh, I can do this, but we don't ask, should I do this? So I think that the AI train is rolling and no one's going to stop it. And so with that, I think that those people who are going to be able to harness that power and to understand it and to utilize it the best way are people who start paying attention now. You need to pay attention. This is not some flash in the pan that's going to go away. No. Number two, you need to think very specifically and explicitly about what are some of the business problems within my organization, and how is it possible that AI can maybe help address or solve those things. And then three is just start, right? Start with some of these easy generative AI tools and just start the process. Again, little baby steps that you can take, I think are going to yield the best results.
Great. Thank you, Mitch. As someone who has gotten into generative AI earlier this year, I will tell you, email subject lines was a great place to start. It was
Yeah.
easy to do. That's just my suggestion, my 2 cents. But Mitch, thank you so much. There's so much happening in this space, and I know there's a lot of questions about it, what tools to use, how to go about it, where to start. And I think you just gave us a great kind of start of how do we think about this? What should we be looking at? And even some tips there as well. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time today, Mitch.
Right. Well, thanks everyone for spending a few minutes with us. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Everyone have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been one of our EVA webinars. We love to share anything that we learn along the way and hope that you share with us as well. Again, we will share the recording with you. Make sure you get your certificate of attendance and all the good credits. If you want more information about AI, whether it's the data part of it or the generative part of it, we'll give you Mitch's contact information. Feel free to reach out to him. And then, as always, I'm the data geek. Love the data. If you have questions about how you can use AI and data, love to help you out there. And if EVA can help you along that way to make your in-person hybrid and virtual events a little bit easier for you and for your attendees. We're here to help. Thanks again. We hope to see you at our next webinar. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Bye-bye.